Steve Gradick, your host. Delighted to have you with us. We have a very special program today that I think you'll find most interesting. We're honored to have in studio Dwayne Hack, president of West Georgia Right to Life, Javed Ona, director of education with the Georgia Right to Life, and the president of Georgia Right to Life, Ricardo Davis. Good morning, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, welcome. Ricardo, let's go ahead and move the microphone over there. And because I want to start off with you,
Yes,
of course, very historic year, the overturning of Roe v. Wade with the Dobbs decision. But there's a but here. Georgia Right to Life has been involved in something for many years now that really hadn't gotten all that much attention. I want you to, if you would, to explain it to our audience. It's personhood, the Personhood Amendment.
Yes. So the idea of personhood isn't new to the pro-life movement. It's something that many of the early leaders in the modern American pro-life movement have been advocating for. And that is that if it's a human, it's got unalienable rights. So beginning from fertilization all the way to natural death, personhood means that they have the legal right to life. So what we are doing now, that should I say the excuse for not seeking personhood, fully protecting every innocent human being, is gone. And the federal court pretty much has said, well, you know what? Every state can do what they please with regard to this issue. So Georgia Right to Life and other organizations that are part of the Georgians Ending Abortion Coalition are petitioning Governor Kemp to call a special session of the state legislature so that we can get a personhood amendment added to our state constitution.
Well, give us a little more, if you would elaborate a little bit on that. What is the importance of going from conception to natural death?
Well, it's really the point of, let's ask the question this way. If you're not a person, then what are you? If we could wind the clock back 150 years, the easy answer would be property. Mm-hmm. You're somebody's property. And again, because we don't treat children in the womb as persons legally, completely, that current Georgia jurisprudence, what the courts do is, and a lot of times they handle children as property. I mean, the only reason why we have elective abortion, Steve, is because if that was recognized as a person legally, then that would be a homicide, straight up. But if it's not homicide, then it's not a person who has the right to life.
We hear so much, we're inundated, if you will, talking about the exceptions to abortion. Rape, incest, the life of the mother. Reconcile that, if you would, with personhood, if you can.
Well, there is no reconciliation there. It's like, if you're black, you're not a person. If your dad is a criminal, you're not a person.
Yeah.
So why is it that as a culture, and unfortunately, most of the pro-life movement has come to terms with and is okay with the fact that, if your parents did something wrong, it's open season on you. We have stripped you of your rights because of nothing you did as a child.
This kind of separates out Georgia Right to Life from other pro-life groups, does it not?
Well, it's because, in one sense, we are consistent. Mm-hmm. We're not here, when people talk about the how politics works, mm-hmm. We are about leadership, mm-hmm. and encouraging leaders to do the right thing. We call ourselves standard bearers. In other words, we call our elected officials to do what is right. We're not here to rubber stamp whatever elected official wants to do. So if the Word of God says that, you know what, from earliest biological beginning to natural death, you have the right to life, then we're not here just to say it. We're here to encourage it. We're here to help, all the way down to the local level, city government, county government, to help advance personhood where we live.
Our guests this morning are Dwayne Hack, President of West Georgia Right to Life, Ricardo Davis, President of Georgia Right to Life. We're going to take a break, come back here from Javed Anand, Director of Education. We'll be back with more after this.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
As a believer in the power of education, we are called to set the standard by shaping and empowering the minds of future generations through quality education. Oak Mountain Academy embraces this philosophy, which is why my children attend this prestigious school. I am elated to serve on the OMA Board of Trustees, where together we prepare students and remind them to trust and believe in the power to transform the world. I'm Dr. Brian Bain, inviting you to celebrate our 60-year legacy of academic excellence. Visit us at oakmountain.us.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Gradick, your host. We have representatives from Georgia Right to Life and West Georgia Right to Life in studio today, and we're obviously talking about this is a very historic year for the pro-life movement.
Yes, it is.
One thing that has not really gotten over the past several years, past almost 50 years since Roe v. Wade, is the discussion regarding chemical abortions. And RU486 started in France in 1980, and then the Clinton administration was successful in bringing it over to America by the year 2000. This is an important subject for the pro-life movement, one that's not getting or hasn't gotten the attention because of Roe v. Wade. Javed, kind of bring us up to date on chemical abortions, the significance of them, and the numbers of abortions in America, and how people are trying to circumvent the new laws with them.
Yeah, so chemical abortions, it's essentially the new frontier of the abortion industry. Typically, when we think of abortions, we think of surgical abortions. You think of those, what you see on the videos or what you see on Google Images. And while that still definitely occurs across the nation and in our state, the fact is that chemical abortions make up over 50% of all abortions in the United States. And that's a huge and profound fact, that over 50% of all abortions are through chemical abortive pills. And so when you look at statistics on abortion number statistics, I know over 60 million children have been murdered through abortion in this country, but that only counts the surgical abortions. That doesn't even count not one of the chemical abortion methods. And it's really disturbing because we see that still here in Georgia, that we know that abortions are on the rise. Since 2017, the number of surgical abortions have been increasing in Georgia. But the thing about it is that they're not even including chemical abortive pill numbers. And so
I think that would be shocking to think that they're not being tracked or tabulated somewhere.
Well, they're, according to law, they don't have to be legally tracked whatsoever in that regard. So they're not going to be in the state data. Right now in Georgia, you do technically have to have a prescription, but it's very easy to get a prescription for a chemical abortive pill. Once a woman gets a prescription, it can be dispensed at virtually any pharmacy, and or it can also be mailed to her house, which is a huge problem when you have chemical abortive pills. And now chemical abortive pills are essentially the new quote-unquote DIY abortions, what a lot of new mainstream outlets like to call it. And a lot of people are on the pro-abortion side are even celebrating this DIY, quote-unquote, it's liberation. They have abortion doulas, is what they call them, that actually, I guess you could say, assist women that take chemical abortive pills in their residence, in their home, because contrary to what Planned Parenthood says, contrary to what the mainstream media says, chemical abortions are just as dangerous as surgical abortions, and you do it in the privacy of your own household, you still have all these significant risk factors and dangers, if not death, of the actual mother.
I understand it's a 2-pill regimen.
Mm-hmm.
And the first pill is reversible, but it's still a very serious procedure. But from what you're saying, the number that we often hear about, 63 million, that number's out the window, is it not?
Yeah, the real number is definitely higher than that. I would say personally at least double since 1973, and there really is no way of knowing the exact number. Because if you include chemical abortion pills, the number is so profound, it's unbelievable. And when you look at chemical abortion pills, it's a 2-pill, and going back to what you said about the reversal pill, so there's 2 pills. So when chemical abortion pill is also known as RU486, the first pill that a woman takes is called mifepristone. Now this pill, what it does, when she takes it, it immediately blocks the progesterone hormone that is necessary to give nutrients and thus life to the child inside her womb. And so that essentially kills the child. And then she would take, within 2 to 3 days after, or whatever Planned Parenthood says, she'll take misoprostol, the second pill. And what that pill does is that expels the dead child, the murdered child in her womb. So it forces her into hard labor. And of course, there's a lot of health factors and risk to the mother itself. There have been women that have died, have gotten seriously injured and or died in this country due to taking those pills. Now, the good news is that within 72 hours, preferably within 72 hours after taking the first pill, you can there's a free hotline, and you can call for an RU486 reversal pill. But that's only after the first pill, and it's usually within 72 hours or as soon as possible. And there's a very good chance of reversing the effects of the first pill. But essentially what the reversal pill is, it's a load of progesterone that will offset what the first pill is doing to take away the progesterone.
Let's talk about numbers a little bit. Of course, we've seen the Heart Bill be the Life Act become law. But I understand people are, Columbus has a rise in abortions as it does Augusta. What Georgia's seemingly increasing. Can you give us a little insight on the numbers?
Yeah, unfortunately, since 2017, the number of abortions has been increasing in the state of Georgia, and that's only counting these surgical abortions. If we look at Carroll County, for example. Last year, the data for 2021 was just released through the state, and in 2021 for Carroll County, there were 1,900 pregnancies. And out of those pregnancies, there were 333 surgical abortions. Not including chemical abortions, but surgical abortions. Mm-hmm. So 17.5% of all the pregnancies that occurred in Carroll County last year resulted in a surgical abortion. And if you look at Douglas County, last year you had 2,360 pregnancies. And of those pregnancies, there were 627 surgical abortions. Mm-hmm. So that's 26.5% of those pregnancies. That's over 1/4 are resulting in abortion, surgical abortion. And it's hard to put into words because it's unbelievable.
How do you, or can you, or do you at this point have any kind of interpretation as to terms of the culture, millennials, Gen Z, anything that gives us kind of a deeper understanding of why these numbers are the way they are?
Well, so I'm 26 years old. I was born in 1996. I guess I'm either millennial or Gen Z, one of those. But I know growing up, especially in the information age and social media and everything, is that everywhere someone goes, particularly on social media now, is that they are bombarded nonstop with these pro-abortion, anti-family messages on every social media platform, on every commercial. I guess people my age don't watch as much as quote unquote cable as much anymore, but you have your media and Hollywood in general, Netflix or any streaming services, but even the ads that come on like Hulu or YouTube or whatever you see on other social media platforms or streaming services. It's just nonstop anti-family, pro-abortion messages.
I want to switch over, if I might, to Ricardo. There was a report recently that Douglas County District Attorney, and I don't know the exact pronunciation, Racine, has pledged not to prosecute doctors over abortion since the Life Act, the Heartbeat Bill, went into effect. And apparently, reportedly, there are about 89 prosecutors nationwide that have signed a pledge not to prosecute abortion crimes. So, what's your reaction to that? I mean, we've got the law now, but if it's not going to be prosecuted, what good is it?
Well, there's a certain governor just south of us down in Florida who, now it wasn't particularly on this issue, but it was dealing with state law where a district attorney said basically, I'm not going to honor my oath that I took when I got the job. And Governor DeSantis relieved him of his duty. So my question is, again, if we are serious about protecting children from elective abortion, we need Governor Kemp to step up and relieve this individual of their duty.
I guess, therefore, does the enforcement mechanism, if any, for the Heartbeat Bill and the Life Act, does that concern you in terms of
yes, it does.
What does the result will be?
Well, it kind of gets back to what does victory look like, right? A dear friend of mine used to always say, to achieve victory, first you must actually seek victory. And victory cannot be just saving some children. Mm-hmm. That's just like saying, some black folks are worthy of equal protection under the law, and some of them aren't. That's unconscionable. Well, again, we're talking about children here. So what we have to do is say, everything within our power, we have to stop it. We have to end it. Unfortunately, Georgia's statutes they're not really a deterrent to the practice. For example, just looking at, we've been getting reports from people essentially on the street who are doing work at these abortion facilities here in Georgia, and they are seeing really no significant decrease. And most of these are, some of them are chemical abortion only, like the one over on Cobb Parkway in Marietta. But some of them are still doing a majority of surgical abortions. There's no traffic slowdown there. As a matter of fact, what we're seeing is because of the lack of strong enforcement mechanisms in Georgia's law, Georgia has become a destination state because guess what? In Alabama, Mississippi, why are we seeing folks traveling to Columbus?
That's right.
The Pregnancy Resource Clinic that's next door to the abortuary down there in Columbus, they monitor and track the traffic going in there. There has been a threefold increase this summer.
Well, I meant to ask Javed. Let me go back to Javed and ask him this question. It would seem like, back to the chemical abortions, but I understand there's laws, federal laws, that says you cannot use the post office to transfer or to mail these pills, abortion pills, across state lines. Is that correct?
Well, I guess there's two things of that. Is number one is it being forced or will it be enforced? Because laws are just words on a piece of paper unless they're actually being enforced.
There you go.
And then on top of that, you have maybe they can't use the U.S. Postal Service, but they could use UPS, FedEx, Amazon. There are so many type of third-party, logistical shipping carriers. I mean, you could create an LLC and have your own logistical, transportation means of transportation for these pills. So it's really, I just don't. That law, it hasn't worked, or it's not being enforced.
We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk more about the Personhood Amendment with Ricardo Davis, and we've got Javed Anna and Dwayne Hack in the studio. We'll be back with more after this.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
I'm Michael Flynn, Oak Mountain Academy class of 1978.
Katie Flynn, class of 2010.
Justin Flynn, class of 2014.
Logan Flynn, class of 2019.
And I'm Marnie Flynn, current teacher at OMA.
My uncle Richard Orm Flynn, a founding father of Oak Mountain Academy, had a vision to see students become confident leaders who hold a faith-based value system in an academically rigorous environment. We are proud to celebrate 60 years of fulfilling my uncle's vision.
Our family invites you to visit the campus or oakmountain.us today.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Graddick, your host. Delighted to have you with us. We're on Facebook Live if you care to join us there. Ricardo, you've been on the program before, and we've talked about what we've called the Black Genocide. Mm-hmm. And Javed has just mentioned about the 63 million number is woefully underestimated. Mm-hmm. But from what we understand of that number, whatever it may be, proportionally more black babies have been killed through abortion than according to their population, which I think is
that's right, per capita.
Per capita,
yes.
And so we
60% of the children that are killed through elective abortion here in Georgia,
so
black children.
We can thank Planned Parenthood and our tax dollars for that.
Yes, in part. Yes.
What is that? That should be shocking to most everyone.
Well, it should be that, again, the numbers don't lie, right? Since 1994, over 480,000 black children have been killed by elective abortion in Georgia. Now, I know we probably have a few University of Georgia fans in the audience. Think about this. You could fill up Sanford Stadium over 5 times with all those children that have been killed. And, you think about, people like to talk about New York City in terms of the fact that the black population is shrinking, literally shrinking, because more black babies are killed than are being born. But this is not a New York City problem. In Fulton County last year, 75% of the abortions that were done involved killing black children. In Cobb County, 58% last year. In Gwinnett County, last year, 51%, for half of the children that were killed by elective abortion were black children. So this isn't something way out there. This is something that's here in Georgia.
Would it be fair to say that the Personhood and the Personhood Amendment petition, which I'm going to get you to mention again, is really part 2 of this? Overturning Roe v. Wade was part 1.
Yes.
Yeah, we're mentioning black children, but both in England and in America, we outlawed the slave trade in 1807.
Yep.
And then,
Come on now.
Tell it. And then England, to their credit, in 1883, I believe it was, after we did, outlawed slavery in general. And then, of course, America had to fight a war between the states.
Yeah, so we weren't so ready to give it up.
Yeah. But it was like two parts. And it's starting to feel like we're now going into part two.
That's right. So we've eliminated the judicial block. So that would be that is a victory. It wasn't a total victory, but it was a decisive victory. And again, the states have the ability to completely outlaw elective abortion in their states.
So what can the citizen do in terms of the petition, and what can local legislators do in terms of personhood?
Okay, well, we're going to ask everyone listening today to go to grtlpetitions.online and sign the Georgians Ending Abortion petition to Governor Kemp to call a special session to get a personhood amendment on the ballot here in Georgia. And we're asking that if you get, because we're in the middle of election season right now, you need to look the man or woman asking for your vote straight in the eye and say, if you won't sign that petition, if you won't take action to save every child's life, you need to go somewhere else.
So the question for the local legislature is no longer are you pro-life, is the question is, will you support a personhood amendment?
Yes. Will you protect every child? I like to call it leave no child behind.
And just a quick addendum, and this goes to natural death. So end-of-life issues are included in this too.
That is correct.
Yeah. All right. Let's go back to Javed, if we could, please. Understand you're going to be on the campus of the University of West Georgia, I believe, tomorrow.
Yes.
And tell us about that, because you're a director of education. Education is critical.
Yeah, so as the education director, so one of the many things that I do is I go around to college campuses, churches, festivals, conferences. I mean, you name it, I'll do my best to try to be there. And then, so particularly on college campuses, what we typically do is we'll go there and we will present one of our pillars of personhood presentation, which talks about what is personhood and the threats to personhood and how we can get involved and take action. And then usually the following day or within the same week, such as tomorrow, we'll be physically on the campus. In this case, on the University of West Georgia, I'll be there from 9 to 4 tomorrow. On the campus, little campus green area out in the public, and we do the public campus outreach to students. And I remember I was a student once at Kennesaw State University. That's how I actually first got involved with Georgia Right to Life, volunteering with them, and that wasn't too long ago. I graduated in 2019, and that was back in Kennesaw State. And what we would be out there with our table, some literature, flyers and books, and we have our pillars, banners and everything, and we talk and engage with the student population. And do we have tough conversations? Yeah, we do. Do we have great conversations that we can break through and discuss these issues about personhood? Absolutely. And of course we have some indecent gestures made towards us and everything, but that's just part of it. But that's essentially what we do. We are getting out into the public and getting out into the public eye and letting people know about personhood and what they can do to act.
Well, what percentage will not engage in a conversation?
It really depends, and I think it does depend on the university too. Maybe depending on the weather and all that. We usually try to do it on a nice day or a warm day, not something too cold or rainy, just because then that would be a deterrence for people to engage. But if they want to engage, they'll engage. We don't force it on anyone, but we are there. They're not going to miss us, so that's important. Yeah.
So I'm not going to get a percentage. Is half of them willing to discuss, have a real discussion about it?
Of those that come up to us and talk to us, I would say half.
Half. Okay. And so besides the University of West Georgia, what other campuses will you be on?
Yeah, so this semester I know I'll be at Georgia Southern University soon. I'll be at the University of Georgia soon as well, and then I should be at more universities rest of this semester and next semester as well.
Okay. Let's turn the Microphone on for Dwayne Hack. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Steve.
Let's get a little closer, if you would, sir. West Georgia Right to Life, very active chapter.
Yes.
You've been very active for quite a while. What's upcoming on the plans of West Georgia Right to Life?
Yeah, you're right. We've been very active the past 2 months or so between getting our newsletter put out for this quarter, attending different functions. We were in 3 or 4 different churches this quarter, presenting what we call the Life Through Scripture. We're always available. Go to local churches during a Sunday morning, Sunday evening church service and just bring our presentation that talks about life. And we use Scripture to back it up because we are a biblically based organization. And without a foundation, no man can lay than that is laid, which is Christ Jesus. And
Amen.
so we put everything basically on our biblical principles. This coming Saturday, our 18th annual this coming Saturday, October the 15th, it'll be our 18th annual, boy, I'm moving it quick, aren't I?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, Saturday, October the 15th from 10 to 11 will be our 18th annual Stand for Life. Love for you to come out there and visit with us. Like I say, this will be our 18th year. I remember our first year we did it. 19 years ago, we were on the square in Carrollton. We had 12 people in January. We about froze, but the Lord's blessed and opened up the doors for us to go ahead and do it every year since. And now we're even doing it in Douglas County. May the 15th this past year, we went out to Douglas County, had a Stand for Life, and it was well received. So, yes, we've been very active, and we appreciate all your support and giving us some opportunities to bring the life message.
So October 15th.
Yes, sir.
Y'all come.
Y'all come. Where and when?
Yeah, so October the 15th, we form a line on Highway 27 South. And so it's basically the line's been from Stripling Chapel all the way down to Verizon, right on the sidewalk. Not in front of Walmart, but on the sidewalk on Highway 27. So show up. You can bring your own homemade signs. We have several hundred signs as well that we already have pre-made as well. You can use those.
Ricardo's, take us home. Tell us again about the petition where the people can sign up and going forward with personhood.
All right. So the Georgians Ending Abortion Coalition petition is at grtlpetitions.online. And we're not only just asking individuals to sign. If your church, if your organization, if your company wants to co-sponsor that petition, so that means you're going to sign it, and then you're going to help get the word out within your network or your sphere of influence to sign it, then please do so. Give us a call at 770. Oh, wait a minute. What's the rest of the number at the office? Come on, help me out, Javed.
Okay, we'll have that number coming up.
Oh, yes. Actually, you know what? Here we go.
Wait a minute, I got it.
No, you don't. Here you go. 770-339-1. Oh, excuse me, 6880.
Yeah,
770-339-6880. You know what? We're such a cell phone age. I don't call that line.
Well,
send a text.
We only got about a couple minutes left. Tell us, you're encouraged about this. So when more people hear about personhood, it seems like they get it.
Yes. Well, again, not only does it make sense, they see that now is the time for us to advocate for personhood for every preborn child and to leave no child behind.
Okay, our guests this morning have been Ricardo Davis, President of Georgia Right to Life, Javed Onal.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Director of Education. Dwayne Hack, who's a regular on the program, President, or I guess we can say that, West Georgia Right to Life. Gentlemen, thank you for coming in. Thank you for your work. God bless, and we hope to see you soon.
Great. All right. Steve, we appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.